You know how it is. Christmas is just everywhere. It totally dominates the culture for a couple of months. From the music in stores to the movies on TV, it feels like this universal thing, a shared season of joy that crosses all kinds of boundaries. And yet, for a huge part of the world's population, this time of year is just, well, another time of year. But the why here isn't just a simple no. It actually opens a door to this incredible hidden history behind the traditions themselves, a story that's packed with pagan gods, furious debates between priests, and warnings from ancient prophets. So let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, let's start with the most direct, foundational reason, which comes straight from Islamic scripture and core principles. The simplest answer really boils down to this. Christmas is just not an Islamic festival. It wasn't practiced or taught by the Prophet Muhammad, so you won't find it on the Muslim religious calendar. And this idea is really captured in a well-known verse from the Quran. This verse is often pointed to as a core principle about the importance of maintaining a clear and distinct religious identity. So, you see, it's not just about something being missing from the scripture, it's about an active principle of preserving what makes the faith unique. But, and this is where it gets really fascinating, the story goes so much deeper once you start digging into the history of the Christmas traditions themselves. All right, let's talk about the date itself, December 25th. I mean, where did that even come from? Turns out its origins go way, way back before Christianity. So, back in ancient Rome, this date was all about the winter solstice. It was a major pagan festival celebrating the invincible sun, hoping it would come back strong and bring an end to winter. The early church, looking for a date to celebrate Jesus' birth, eventually adopted this one, even though there's no historical proof he was actually born on that day. Okay, so this brings us to probably the biggest figure of the holiday, Santa Claus. But the real historical person he's based on, St. Nicholas, had a story that was, let's just say, far from jolly. And he was right in the middle of a huge, defining moment for Christianity. Okay, picture this. It's the year 325 AD. The Roman Emperor Constantine calls this massive meeting of Christian leaders to settle a huge theological fight that was tearing the church apart. The central question was, what is the true nature of God and Jesus? And the tension in the room was off the charts. At the heart of it all were two totally opposing views. On one side, you had a priest named Arius, who was fiercely arguing for pure monotheism, that God is absolutely one and that Jesus was a created being, not divine himself. The other side, which eventually won and became the famous Nicene Creed, established the doctrine of the Trinity. And during this fiery debate, Nicholas got so enraged by Arius's arguments for monotheism that he reportedly slapped him right across the face. Let that sink in for a second. From this historical perspective, the modern cuddly figure of Santa Claus is rooted in a man who is celebrated for his role in a literal physical fight against the principle of pure monotheism, a principle that is the absolute unshakable bedrock of Islam. So, wow. Now, what about that other iconic symbol, the Christmas tree? Well, you're probably not going to be surprised to hear that its journey through history is just as wild and layered. According to the sources, the tree's story has 4 major stages. It starts as an object of pagan worship for ancient peoples, some of whom were even mentioned in the Quran for their tree veneration. Then, an 8th century Christian missionary basically rebrands the pagan symbol for a new faith. But it didn't really blow up until the 1800s, when a picture of the British royal family with their Christmas tree went viral for its time, making it the fashionable thing to have in your home. And this is exactly where Islamic sources point to sayings like this one from the Prophet Muhammad, which were understood as a warning against just blindly absorbing the customs and rituals of other communities. Okay, so we've got the theological side, we've got the historical side. Let's pull all these threads together now and look at how this all plays out in the modern day. And this brings us to the question that always comes up today, right? You hear it all the time. But come on, Christmas isn't really religious anymore. It's just a cultural thing about family and giving gifts. Well, from the perspective we've been exploring, the answer is that you can't just unplug the holiday from its history. The date, the tree, Santa Claus, they are all seen as being hardwired with non-Islamic theology and pagan origins. So participating, even if you call it secular, is still viewed as a form of imitation that could water down a distinct Muslim identity, especially for the younger generation. And it's really important to get this part. The sources stress that this isn't about creating hostility or shutting yourself off from your neighbors. The goal is to maintain religious integrity, to be proud of your own traditions and festivals while living respectfully alongside others who celebrate differently. And this really leaves us with the big, thought-provoking question at the center of it all. To many, a Christmas tree is just a tree, and Santa is just a fun story. But for over 1 billion Muslims, the history behind these symbols is inseparable from their meaning today. It's a question for all of us, really. How much does the past shape our present, and where do we draw the lines between culture, faith, and identity?